Hey guys, I wanted to give you guys a lesson just talking about percent of a number. And so I'm going to post this in our classroom as well. But we have a percent is out of 100, right? And we've talked about this before, so it should be review. Um, my notes tell you a percent is one part out of 100, or 1% is equal to 1 over 100. Or remember, we talked about this before because we talked about hundredth, th at the end, right? We have two places. We can use proportions, which I put for you in bold, talking about that, right? And my proportions talks about my part to whole is equal to my percent over 100 because percent is out of 100. I gave you a little bit of a visual right here. Okay, so my percent is talking about, these are my visuals that are just kind of like for your little extra help. If I'm looking here, I'm talking about 12% is 40% of what number, which is what our lesson is talking about this week, right? So I'm going to do, and now this one, if you notice in this little visual, is flip-flopped. So what's up here with my part to whole is equal to percent over 100 is flipped here. I have the percent over 100 is equal to the part to whole. And so when they're doing it that way, they're talking about like the 40% over 100. And that's equal to my 12 over something because they're looking for the actual number. Okay. And if I gave you another example when we go down here, because this is going to be very much like what your IXL is related to. I did want to show you there's another way to do it too, but we can come back to this one because the first part we're going to solve using a proportion. And I solved it both ways so you can see the examples because I'm giving you two ways to solve it. For my proportion, my question says the supermarket has 30 aisles, 70% are empty without any shoppers. How many empty aisles are there in the supermarket? And I kind of highlighted for you because it's harder for me to circle, right? So my numbers, my 30 aisles, my numbers are my units, and I have 70%. And I highlighted empty, even though I wouldn't necessarily have to do it because percent would be my label on this. And what I want to know, I did in green, how many, so I'm looking for a number, aisles are in the supermarket. So my sentence will be there are blank aisles, or I can say there are blank empty aisles in the supermarket. Okay. And if I'm using my proportion, I want to find 70% of 30 because that's what we're talking about here. 70% of the 30 aisles, right? So my whole here is 30. My percent is 70. And my N is equal to my part. That's what I'm looking for. So I kind of defined what I know and what I'm looking for. And we're going to create our proportion. So I'm going to have some number, my part over my whole. My whole is the 30. And then I'm going to have my 70% over 100 because my part is the 70%. My whole is 100%. And then on this one, this is something new we didn't do. We cross multiply. Some other people might call this a butterfly method because I'm going kind of across this way. And you can see, I'm going to go back up to the visual. You can see because they actually have arrows in there. I'm sorry I didn't draw arrows for you guys. Okay, so I'm going to do my n times 100. And I'm always writing it this way. And then I'm going to do 30 times 70, which goes this way. And 100 times n gives me 100n. And 30 times 70 gives me 2100. And then because I have this number with, this is called a variable. I don't know, we've talked about that. A letter that stands for something is called a variable. I have a number being multiplied by that. I have to undo that multiplication. The opposite of multiplication is division. So I moved that problem kind of over here so we didn't keep going down. I'm going to divide each side. And I'm so sorry, guys. I should have had an n here. So I'm going to divide that. And then I get n equals 21. So 21 aisles are empty. Okay. I'm going to show you the other way too. I can use a decimal as well. When I use a decimal, and you might see this as use an equation, that looks like my part is equal to the percent of the whole. And we remember of means multiply. Whenever I'm doing my percent, I'm usually going to change it to a decimal. When we're on our Hangout, I'll show you on a calculator how we switch it. But, meaning how you can actually type in percent. But otherwise, we're going to convert our 70% to a decimal. And remember, if it's this way, my percent is out of 100, so there's 2 decimal places, okay? So then I'm just going to get my part is equal to 0.70 or 70 hundredths times 30, and I'm still going to get 21 aisles. I'm going to do another one using the decimal just so we kind of see it. Yesterday, there were 15 problems assigned for math homework. Phoebe did 60% of them correctly. How many problems did Phoebe get right? Okay, so it's important for me to know 15 problems, my number in my unit. I have 60 in a percent, and I did correctly just because that's telling me what this percent is about. Okay, so again, if you didn't have this done in our class, it'd be okay. You just have here. And what I want to know is how many problems, so I'm looking for a number of problems, right, that you got right. So on this one, I'm going to do the part is equal to the percent of the whole. And my N is going to stand for my part. So my whole is 15, right? And that's what I kind of put here. I'm looking for my percent is 60, and they told me that. My whole is 15 problems. So 60% of 15. So 60% translates to 0.60, right? Anytime I have a percent, we're going to have 2 decimal places. So take the number, move it 2 places over to the left and put your decimal, and there you go. So this is 60%, 0.60 or 60 hundredths, right? And it's of 15. So I'm just going to multiply this out, and it equals 9. So Phoebe got 9 problems right. Okay. All right, we will talk on our Hangout about using our calculator, and I'll show you how, but this is kind of what you're doing. Let me know if you need help.